we're going to move on to the next story of the day, and that is going to be on Marjorie Taylor Greene. So, who we know has been stripped of committee memberships. On Thursday, members of the House of Representatives voted 230 to 199 to strip Marjorie Taylor Greene of her memberships. 11 Republicans joined Democrats in voting for her removal. Amongst those speaking on the House floor were Democratic representatives. The main focus in the House chamber was on the vote for Marjorie Taylor Greene. In a speech before the vote, Marjorie Taylor Greene defended herself and tried to distance herself from previous comments she made about 9/11, school shootings, and more. But before we get to that, I want you to see some of the Democratic representatives on the floor. Let's take a look at that.
And thank you, Mr. Speaker. In 2 weeks, I celebrate the birthday of my son, Jordan. Every year since he was murdered, his birthday brings joyful memories, but profound sadness. 2 years ago, my pain on his birthday turned to horror and grief as I watched students in Parkland, children the same age as my son, run terrified out of their high school. I watched parents read texts from their kids that said, "Mom, if I don't make it back, thank you for everything that you've done for me." I watched as 17 families realized that their lives are never going to be the same. Throughout history, words have shown and have had the power to unite this nation with unity and with hope, or the power to divide with bigotry and hate. Words have an impact on everything that we do here in this chamber, on this hill, in this body. Every action that we take make life better for the American people. This today is about our members' words and actions that are beneath this body, beneath the American people that we have sworn to protect. This is about our members stalking the children of tragedy, attacking survivors, and threatening violence. This is about our member denying the existence of dead children at Sandy Hook Elementary and Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. This moment is about parents across America who now celebrate their child's birthday, just like me. And I yield back the balance of my time.
That was very powerful. That was very powerful. Greene was on the Education and Labor Committee and the Budget Committee. Ironic, giving her previous statements on school shootings, as we just heard, in Florida and Connecticut, the Sandy Hook and Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. Steny Hoyer, a Democrat from Maryland, and the House Majority Leader denounced Marjorie Taylor Greene. But I want to take a look at this other person who definitely had something to say on the floor.
There's one thing we must say for folks who don't know who she is. That is Lucy McBath. Her son was Jordan Davis. Her son was killed in Jacksonville, Florida. If you guys don't recall that, if y'all don't know exactly who she is, make sure that you understand exactly who she is and why her voice is so legitimate in this conversation. Not only just because she's a Black woman that's in Congress, but she's personally experienced gun violence, as she said. So Jordan Davis, if you don't know the story, please look it up.
Yeah, as Marcus said, because that's very important, as she discussed as she was speaking just now, especially denouncing Marjorie Taylor Greene. But to end this, House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy said Greene's past opinions do not represent the views of my party, but without naming the offenders, he said Pelosi hadn't stripped committee members from Democrats who became embroiled in the controversy, which we know Republicans will try to point the finger. But I know, Mondale, this was a very passionate one for you, discussing the whole Marjorie Taylor Greene.
I mean, it just shows. It just shows that Republicans are betting on America to have the shortest memory in the world, as it pertains to whiteness, because this woman, they're talking about past speech as if she didn't and wasn't continuing the same behavior this election cycle, and it still is not clear if she was one of the elected officials that were walking people, some of the people that participated in the riot through the Capitol on tours that were supposed to be suspended the days before the riot happened in January. So, I mean, that's still to be seen. We also know that during the election cycle, this woman used a gun, an AR-15, and said she would be the squad's worst nightmare if elected. So she's also the person who tried to go around the metal detector at the house, the office buildings, and had a gun on her person. So this person is extremely, extremely dangerous. And the fact that, the Democrats had to do what Republicans would traditionally do and expel membership. But because her ties to Donald Trump and Trumpism and what that means to the Republican Party, they are afraid to hold her accountable. So in history, never has the majority party had to check the minority party like this. So I'm super glad that the president was broke and Black women's voice was extremely strong in leading that argument and making that case. I think Dwayne said there's another video from Nikema Williams, who replaced John Lewis in Georgia's 5th district as well.
The gentleman from Georgia, Representative Williams.
Gentlewoman is recognized for a minute and a half.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today in support of the resolution to remove Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene from her committee assignments. Her words and actions tout dangerous and deadly QAnon conspiracy theories, threaten our national security, and put the lives of every person in this room at risk. On January 6th, we witnessed what can happen when our leaders spread baseless conspiracy theories and spew violent rhetoric that echoes the same call to violence that resulted in a domestic terrorist attack on the United States Capitol. We can't control what Representative Greene does and says, but we can control how we operate as a governing body that holds its officials accountable. I'm particularly concerned about her appointment to the Education and Labor Committee, which not only has oversight of the education of our children, but also has the responsibility to ensure students have safe environments to learn. I watched in horror at the footage of Representative Greene berating a Parkland shooting survivor, a teenager who came to Capitol Hill seeking help from lawmakers to put an end to mass shootings and prevent other high school students from having to witness the senseless murder of their classmates and teachers. This is personal for me, as a mom of my Carter cakes who just started kindergarten, and as a survivor of a school shooting my senior year of high school that claimed the life of a classmate. I still live with that trauma today. My colleagues on the other side of the aisle say they disapprove of Representative Greene's actions. However, disapproval without action means nothing. This is about doing what's right. As Dr. King stated, it's never the wrong time to do the right thing. And with that, I yield back.
So this is super important because these are her neighbors calling her out. I'm talking about these two sisters are neighboring to the 14th district. And by neighboring, I really mean 14th district isn't even where Marjorie should be elected at, because she was actually running against Lucy McBath. But as soon as the congressman that was in that seat said he was not going to run for re-election, she suspended that campaign and took her money from her small business and bought a house in the 14th district and began to run in a more conservative part of Georgia, which is where she's running and elected at right now. So these are the people that are like checking their neighbors, and I just thought it was extremely important that people know that we're not just talking about some abstract thing. First of all, she jeopardized their lives with her language and what her role in the riots. I'm talking about Marjorie role that she played with her rhetoric in the riots. And then on top of that, she lives in their district. So that we know how dangerous that is. People get fired up when she's having these crazy rallies in her district. They can easily drive down the street from northern Georgia to Atlanta and try to do harm to Carter, who is Nikema's kid, a Black baby boy, or her husband, Leslie, who's also a political figure in Georgia, or Lucy McBath's family, who's next door. This is real life, and these people need to be checked. And I'm super excited that the Democrats did that yesterday.
I think that this is a good example that they've shown when they can work together, what can happen. This woman has been, Marjorie Taylor Greene, has been a thorn, and she made sure to heighten that, especially after she's been this way, mind you, but and she's been having these platforms to say these conspiracy theories, to attack kids, to have people relive these traumatic experiences traumatic experiences by discussing the Sandy Hook and things like that. So she's been doing this. That's the problem, right? But I'm glad that we were able to get to a point where they were able to strip her away from her rights. Talking about, I know that she promotes free speech and things like that, but for her to attack children, for her to attack her counterparts, for her to just be able to use her white privilege and her white supremacistness to walk around metal detectors, for her to harass people in the workplace. Those things should have never gone on. And she should have never woke up the day after not feeling that her job was in jeopardy. But because she was protected by the Trump administration and those those Republicans, she just had that power. And I'm thankful that we were able to kick her off that pedestal. So
free speech is hate speech. So their version of free speech is hate speech. Their version of free speech is putting black and brown bodies in danger. That's not free speech. That's endangerment, right? You can't just go around saying what you want and expecting people to just ignore it. I'm sorry. If somebody comes to my job, my office, and has threatened me in the past, yeah, you know what, we should kill that Negro, then guess what? I'm gonna be very protective of my life around that person. It's that simple. Right? She should be fired, man. She should be ejected from Congress. This is like, she still got a job. So much white privilege in this. She still has a job. White people always keep their jobs. I mean, I don't want her to keep her job. Because if I had said something like that about white women before and I became a congressperson, you think I'd be in Congress right now, man? No. And the people who protected them, like, it's not even fierce rhetoric anymore, right? Until people like Marjorie Taylor Greene get fired from their position and sent back to Rome, Georgia. And what's wrong with y'all in Rome for electing her in the first place? But until she gets kicked out, we're not going to be able to move on until white supremacy is punished. Point blank, it's punished. Right. So don't think that just because she lost her chair positions, which is a very important thing, but she still has a job. We can't allow that. White supremacy will never die. Yes. And you know what? I'm going to say this. Let me be radical right now. White supremacy needs to die in America. It needs to die. Quote me on that. Yeah. If I ever run for office, use that term right there to make all your hit pieces, right? Like, it needs to die. So, and this is not for, you can't heal as a country. We can't do right as a country. My two fingers comes up because we're getting cursed as a country until we kill white supremacy, until it's dead. And her having a job is not killing white supremacy. Her getting fired is killing white supremacy. The white folks getting put in jail who are at the Capitol on January 6th, those people going to jail is killing white supremacy. Right now, we're punishing white supremacy. We are putting it in a corner just so they can get angry and retaliate smarter and more effectively the next time. Kick these people out of office.
Kick these people out of office. That's very that as simple as you said it, but that's just kind of like, I don't understand why we have to go around and tiptoe, but I'm glad that we got here, because let's say this was a few years ago, strong within the Trump administration, we probably would have never seen this day. So I'm happy that we got here. I'm happy that we were able to reprimand her in some kind of way, but you're right. Eventually, I want it to be a day where when these people are doing what they're doing, for us to be able to kick them out. So remove them so that they would never be able to hold that seat again.
Actually, that resolution has actually already been proposed. Cori Bush, this is the first step. Cori Bush has already presented that legislation to expel her from Congress, from the House. So all we just need to do is keep pressure on the rest of the folk in the House to make sure they vote properly. But that resolution has already been presented. And she said that in her speech. I think it's House Resolution 76 or something like that. So it's already a resolution to get rid of her.
Yeah, hopefully that happens. And thanks for Cori Bush for even putting that out there. I did hear her. And it's up to, these women to have that conversation. And there were other people who were out there, and other white representatives who were even denouncing it. But I think it's so much more powerful when it comes from Black and brown people, and to voice what's going on, and to have that power, and to come together and join together and get this white supremacist out. Like, to me, that is very powerful, because that's something that we don't see often. So being able to see that and hear that was a big deal for me.
I got a question for the panel real quick, and that's this. How do you guys think that these white Republicans who support white supremacy so hardcore feel about losing some things? Because they never lose, right? This, like, the last two things that we just showed, the last two videos showed the white power structure, the white supremacist structure actually losing. They don't want to give us money for COVID relief, and they don't want to see accountability in any form. Do you think they feel any kind of way about this? And how much are you enjoying this too? Because I'm enjoying it a little bit.
I'm enjoying it quite profusely.
I mean, it's high entertainment. I enjoy it every time we are able to stick it to the man, to use a phrase from long ago. I think that to talk about the white supremacists, I think that they feel a little sting, but the concern is what they do in response to that, right? We got Trump in response to Barack Obama, in my mind, in many ways, right? White supremacists just couldn't take a Black man in power. And so 60 whatever million people voted for just the worst, most unqualified, racist, homophobic, sexist person to ever run for office. So we have to be vigilant. I think we can enjoy these moments, but we also need to ensure that we are ready for whatever comes next. Because again, Marjorie Taylor Greene is going to be up for re-election. So if the resolution fails, who is running against her? Right? That's where we need to be focused. I also want to say that I truly enjoy watching Black and brown folks lead the charge, but it can't be all on us. Right. Part of the issue is where are our allies / advocates who, the white folks who are standing up and saying, you know what she's saying is wrong. I'm going to call my congressperson too. It should be a coalition of people who want the right thing to be done. It shouldn't all fall on our shoulders, but Black and brown folks should be leading the charge because we are most directly impacted.
Yeah.
I mean, in this case, this is not about the harm or the potential harm to any of the Black and brown Congress vote. The only reason we're voting to remove or strip Marjorie's chairmanship or positions on those committees is for a couple of reasons. One, she threatened Nancy Pelosi, white woman, Speaker of the House, and two, she chased a white kid that America loves down the street. This has nothing to do with what she said about Cori Bush in the hall without her mask, which is in violation of House rules, or what she said about the squad members. This has nothing to do with that. This is all about white supremacy going too far as it pertains to white people. And the same is true with with the 6th, January the 6th. This is why people walked away from the Capitol and didn't get shot or arrested when they were protesting. When we know when Black people are protesting peacefully in DC, they can be sprayed with chemical welfare by the military just so Donald Trump can go hold a Bible upside down. So this is all about what happened or what the threat was to white people. So while we do need to claim this as a victory for those of us who are fighting white supremacy, it's not a victory. It wouldn't have been a victory had those two or three threats to whiteness hadn't happened. So we still know that America's tolerance for Black suffering, Black pain is long. And this is proven because we still see a continuation of cops killing Black people. Even in 2021, we still see Black people being jailed more, held more. And and given longer sentence. And also we still see Black people disproportionately affected by folk who don't have access to the internet, clean air, clean water, or unnecessary housing in this country. So while white supremacy did take a blow in the 2020 election, and also the white Republicans right now suffering, but we should also know that this is directly linked to white people and they're affected, how they were affected by Trump and Trumpism this year.
Yo, they left
Well-
they left the Capitol like it was a Taylor Swift concert.
Like it was a Taylor Swift concert.
What would that be?
Well,
Listen.
actually, I'm not gonna let you do that. I'm not gonna let you do that because Taylor Swift is down with the cause, and she's right on our issue. So they left like it was a Bo Cephas concert. Hank Williams Jr.
I'll be with Marcus though. They didn't leave it like it was a Taylor Swift concert.
Kid Rock, right? There you go.
Yeah, Kid Rock. There
Or
you go.
Kid Rock. Even both of them, Taylor Swift and Kid Rock. But with that
Taylor
being
Swift
said-
is right on our issues. We
and well, even if they love her too, they live
they
and
do
love
love
her.
her.
Live and love her too.
They don't, bro. They gave her hell when she came out endorsing Democrats. White folk gave her hell, like they literally did. So we April just asked where our allies. We should make sure that we're lifting up our allies. And
Not
Taylor
negating
Swift
that she's not
is a
our
wonderful-
allies, but I'm saying they love her too.
They don't though. They went in on her. They literally did
and
for
it's
supporting.
okay. So we
for
can agree to
They
disagree.
canceled her.
No, that's not. That's
That
not. They
part.
canceled her. No, seriously.
White people did cancel her. They like went
when she
in
came out for
on
Black
her
trans lives
real
and Black
bad.
people. Yeah, they canceled her. That's a fact. So.
And again, like I said, she
They were
will
burning her
always
CDs.
she will always win. If something were to happen to her, her community will still be for her.